Welcome back to the Spoken Wheel Podcast. My name is Chris Valadez from Brookfield, and with me as always...
Peter Janunas, owner of... what am I?
What do you do?
What don't I do? I got a lot of things going on. Gears to you in Riverside, Illinois, and I teach Pilates. By the way.
Okay, okay, sir. Excuse me. All right, yeah. You're trying to get me to do your Pilates thing.
You should try it sometime.
Why? What is it going to do for me?
Stretch you out, make you taller than 5
foot. Taller than 5 foot. Then I will come. Thank you. I need some more height. You've sold it. Yeah.
Absolutely. This is totally off topic now. We didn't talk about this at all, but a lot of athletes, do Pilates, and I think a lot of people, everyone should do Pilates. Is what I'm saying.
And go see you specifically.
Well, see a Pilates instructor. There's a lot of them out there, but yeah, come see me.
The best in the business.
Best in the business.
Okay.
I'm the only bicycle shop / Pilates
/ podcaster.
Yeah, we got a few other things.
Yeah. So let's not talk about all our businesses. No. We're doing stuff. All right, so let's talk bikes. So then we're Pilates. Who needs to know about bikes? You're not here for Pilates.
Not yet. I'm doing that podcast next.
Good. Oh boy. Oh, let's see. Well, okay. Well, let's talk bikes here today. So, Pete and I were talking before in the episode, as we always do. We always, get ourselves psyched up for bike sort of stuff. We are part of local advocacy groups, and it's very important, near and dear to our heart, not just because the groups that we belong to are local to us, but there's a lot of support that comes out of these local bike advocacy groups that exist in town. So our group that Pete and I are part of is called Brookfield. We've been around for 7-ish years and have been able to make a mark in town, not only by adding infrastructure into the town of Brookfield, the village of Brookfield, but also bringing events and education that comes with that. And so local advocacy groups are really important to both Pete and I, because it adds an element of safety, brings awareness to your local town, and it also gives a point of contention, a contact with someone who might not, someone who needs, I need to know what's the latest law or group, and there's good reason to join, right? At any level.
Absolutely, and it's just people to ride with.
Yeah.
It's a group, right? And so you can people to ride with, people to learn about the rules of the road if you don't know them, all that. It's just, I think it's fantastic to be part of local. So there's...
What's your hand signal, Pete? Show me a right turn signal.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay, there we go. That's right.
Left.
Then left.
And then down is...
Stop.
No.
You don't... Yeah.
Is it stop?
Oh, God. Look at us. We're supposed to be educating you. Yeah. Yes, down is stop, right?
I'm so used to doing it right hand with...
Right. Oh, right hand stop. Oh, yeah. But that's, but the idea is that you put your hand down to showcase that you're stopping to either someone who's riding with you or maybe motorists.
And pointing stuff out. Yeah.
Well, that's for the group ride. But, I'll tell you what, I've had motorists come to me and say, what, we don't know your fancy bike signals. I'm like, actually...
Isn't it part of the drivers?
That's it. Yeah. It's so we should all know this. If you are 16 and over and you're driving a car, you actually know some hand signals that you should be utilizing also on your bike.
I see a whole bunch of hand signals.
Well, it depends on what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, but using hand signals and obeying the rules of the road, either if you're on a trail path, what do we call them these days? Anything. So behind us, we have the Salt Creek Trail, multi-use bike paths, but you also have people walking, running out there as well. They need to know if you're turning left or right in front of them. Remember to call out signals, say things. Go through those things quick sometimes.
Left.
Yeah. Scream at Huddersfield.
To be honest with you, I kind of go both ways with saying that when I pass people, because it's actually happened to me a few times where I say on your left and then they turn their head.
Oh yeah.
And then they go out into me.
Yeah, all of a sudden they're turning into you and you're trying to avoid them. Yeah. I try to ride with a bell. On certain bikes I have a bell. And the bell seems to deter people, because when they hear a voice, people are social, right? And they're out there who's talking to me? Who knows me out here? And so I like a bell. So I have the ability to put a bell, and I have a real fancy, it's like of course, course. Come on, it's gonna be nice. But it's a real fancy tiny belt. No one even knows it's on the bike. Not like this, gargantuan, 1950s.
You need a horn. You need those big horns.
Yeah. There we go. All right, I'm gonna go buy one and put and see what happens in the next.
So I think it's just geese.
That's true. Who likes geese? Well, anyway, you learn these things, hopefully by looking at your local advocacy groups. Like I said, we are part of Cycle Brookfield, which is a local group here in Brookfield, and we've been very fortunate to encourage and educate the populace of Brookfield and the surrounding areas for the last few years, and which leads to our guest who we have here today. We'll introduce our guest in a moment, but our guest is from a local town, and Pete, you spent some time in that town, Riverside. Yeah, it's
where I live now.
You own it, right?
I own that town.
It's yours. But yeah, Peteville. That's Pete's other job. Yeah, owning towns, doing Pilates, and what else? And eating hot dogs. Yeah. Okay, that's it. That's your specialty, man. Well, let's introduce our guest here because I think I'm excited because this is a local neighboring town of mine that you're part of as well, and I'm excited that there's advocacy happening in another neighboring town. So Val, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Valerie Kramer. I am the founder of Ride Riverside, and we are now doing social rides the second Friday of every month until the end of this year.
Wonderful. Tell me, Val, how did this come out? Why did you start? Why did you find and found her as that founder? You're the founder, right? That's where we're going. The founder.
Overboard.
You're the founder of Ride Riverside. That's great. What was the mission here? Why did you start this?
Well, I guess I started riding a bike, when I was a kid, right? And I didn't use it for anything other than fun until I got to college, and I started riding a bike to get to class, to get around. I didn't have a car, and I was at U of I in Champaign-Urbana, and it's decently bike friendly there. And I kind of figured it out that I could use my bike as transportation, and that was really exciting to me. And that was many years ago, and now I guess I've just been into bikes since then. And then I went to a Cycle Brookfield annual meeting.
Oh, wow.
That somebody here was running. And I was like, I want that. And then we talked, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I have to do it because nobody else is doing it.
So at our annual meeting, just for those who don't know, and if you're not a member of Cycle Brookfield, become a member of Cycle Brookfield because you don't have to live in Brookfield, but support what we do because obviously what we're saying and doing is encouraging neighboring towns also grow advocacy groups. But at our annual meeting, we showcase what our wins were for the year, where our vision is continuing to go continually. And in 2023, we actually put in bike lanes for the first time in Brookfield, it sounds like a real simple task, and everyone says, "Oh, I got bike lanes in my town." Sure, but it took an advocacy group, very likely, or an advocate at the very minimum, to lobby, talk to that village leadership, that town's leadership, maybe sometimes find funds and money for it. I know, Pete. Well, you guys are in Riverside. There's not many bike lanes that you guys have there, right?
We have share.
Arrows, okay.
Which are little arrows with a bicycle symbol on the ground.
And what does that do versus a bike lane?
I think it's mostly, I've tried to look at research on this, and there really isn't anything about safety, but it does help in terms of telling people who are riding which way to go, because some people ride the wrong way, and that's actually more dangerous. It also tells motorists that bikes can be here. So I think those are the main things that it's good for. But in terms of giving space to a bicyclist, it doesn't really do that.
No, it's not a designated lane like what we have here. It's just, it kind of tells people that there's going to be bicycles there on that lane. And there's really, in Riverside,
that's it.
One road.
Yeah, we have routes, but they are just little green arrows, sometimes with a bicycle, like a little sign.
Yeah, so they have like wayfinding signs,
yeah,
right, throughout Riverside to say like this is like a suggested bike route. Effectively,
yeah.
That's great and all, but we didn't have that here in Brookfield. Where what definitely we wanted, and one of the mission statements of Cycle Brookfield is to make a really safe element where anyone who is riding a bike for recreation, for transportation, for whatever reason they're doing it, to have an actual bike lane. So having an advocacy wing, I'll tell you, I say this all the time, and Val, Valerie, you probably heard this at our annual meeting. And it took us 7 years to gain momentum, and that's a long time, and it's also a short period of time. And the idea of advocacy work, it took a few years to grow the mission, to understand what it was that we needed, and to really drive and to get in front of the village. And I used to show up at the village hall, pounding my fist on the podium, like, we need bike lanes here, and the public comments, and everyone's probably snickering in the background, like, oh, look at this crazy man with this beard, like screaming about bikes, but it took with the group effort we have at Cycle Brookfield. It took a lot of ideas that were coming to the table from us and from the group rides, and listening to some of our community, which I'm hoping you're getting to hear, Val, from your side. That what does your community really want, and what does your community need to feel safe on a bike? And I know you just had maybe your first event, and let's talk about that.
Let's hear about that.
Let's hear about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it was actually a really crazy day for weather. It said, it was going to be clear skies, and then all of a sudden storms started coming up, and it was raining really hard, and it was like those cartoon rain clouds, like where it like pours and then it goes away. So we had that, but then right when our ride started, we had no rain, and we had about 40 people. Yes. And there were all ages, kids, just a great turnout, for our first ride and for the weather. So I was really excited. I didn't get to relax on the ride like I normally, I was like, I'm going to do this thing that I want, but then I actually have to do the thing, and I have to be the one that's leading everyone. But it was really fun. Yeah.
And you went around Riverside. You just cruised around and took a nice route around Riverside. A
little over 4 miles, so an easy pace, very easy pace, so kids could ride with us. And and we went along the river. We saw deer. We saw all sorts of wildlife in Riverside. So it was a really good way to, kind of show off our town.
Well, I'll tell you what, that weather that you had beforehand, and I was fortunate to be on the text thread that was happening. It was it's I get it. We've been hosting rides for many years here in Brookfield, and it's nerve-wracking when weather comes up and 50, 100 people are getting ready to show up. You want perfect weather, but that's sometimes part of the cyclist mentality. You come out, you ride your bike, you're doing it, but with these group level rides, I'll tell you, as a local advocate, you want everything to go perfect. You want your ride to be smooth. You have clear weather, not too hot, not too cold. Everyone's bike is working. There's no incidents, but things happen. On every single bike ride, and that's part of the joy, the pleasure of running. We walk up to the crowd, Valerie, now, and, of like trying to navigate what a large scale ride looks like, and hopefully your ride continues to grow. So your first ride was in April, correct? And then you have a next ride coming up. I don't know if it's going to be the date there.
May 10th.
May 10th. Okay, thank you. So May 10th, and
so it's the second Friday of every month.
Yeah, 6 p.m. at the Riverside train station.
Which is
second Friday. Yes, where. So if you need any last minute accommodations.
Again, Pete, you're everywhere.
I'm
everywhere. Okay. No, but that's a good call. So, I do want to give credit to Pete and Gearston U. They've always supported us at our local Cycle Brookfield First Friday. We have First Friday rides. We own First Friday. So Val and anyone else who's going to start an advocacy group, you're not getting First Friday. I'm sorry, that belongs to us.
That's Third Friday.
You're gonna get Third Friday, maybe fourth. There's a fifth. Maybe you'll the oddball fifth Friday.
Start doing Tuesdays.
Yeah. Hey, any advocacy ride is good. I am all for it, but don't take my First Friday. Just kidding. but we've been very fortunate to have Gearston and support from other organizations around town. And so Gearston is a mobile and stationary bike repair service. Pete comes with a van with supplies, with bike pumps, and people are showing up right before the ride. They're like, I don't have air in my tire, right? And right, that's
Can I have a tune-up right now?
Right, exactly.
I said, oh, but
Yeah.
I just like to be part of it. But I think being involved and being there, and not just me, but other advocacy groups have, people follow them and whatever. But it's just good to have that person there just in case, and I follow behind the van, and it's not. Rarely do I have it. There's an incident where it's like a flat or anything. It's usually like the little kids need to be picked up off the ground.
Sure.
Or stuff like that. I've given rides to a few people, and so it's fun.
But that's a helpful element, and I know now that you're also in the Ride Riverside group as well. Having that level of support, and maybe Val, you can comment on why partnering with someone like you and Pete has been helpful. But also talk to me after you comment on that. Like, what was some challenges you had starting this event?
Well,
start with the good. Start with the good. Okay.
Well, having Pete, I mean, I think honestly, it's not just your bike knowledge. It's the fact that you know everyone in Riverside and go to all the meetings. And so having somebody who's an insider but not an insider has been really helpful for me, and trying to figure out what I need to do next. And you're always kind of giving me little texts like, hey, you need to do this. And sometimes I get mad and I'm like, but I'm the only one doing these things.
Did you send out the text I sent to you today that I told you to do?
No.
Okay.
Okay. I just want a grant. Okay.
You have a grant.
Absolutely.
Okay. So you're a new advocacy group. You have a grant you want to talk about. Let's hear it.
Okay. Well, it's from the Active Transportation Alliance, and they are giving out, or they gave out, mini grants to anyone who was doing anything for Bike Month. And there was an application, and we filled it out, and we were awarded some money to help us with our next event, which will have a bike-powered music setup right before our ride. So at 5:30, we're gonna have somebody literally providing the electricity to power a sound system for music. And that's where our money's going to go to, hopefully to pay somebody to actually play something really good for us. And then we're going to ride right afterwards. So it's just a fun way to celebrate Bike Month. And it's really great that we're already getting support. We're kind of a brand new organization. And it's great to have a bigger organization kind of give us a leg up, just like Cycle Brookfield.
Well, congrats. That's
great.
Big show.
Filling out the paperwork.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but as an early advocate, money starts becoming an issue. Unfortunately, you have to apply for things. You're printing out material, you're putting it around the village. There's things that you're doing. You're either making T-shirts or swag. You want people to know, buttons, whatever, stickers, whatever things. You want people to know that these things exist and this exists. So having Active Transportation Alliance, which is a fantastic resource for the Chicagoland area. If you're not familiar with them, please become familiar with them. If you're into cycling, if you're in any level of transportation that is specifically not you alone in a car, that is a fantastic group to understand and to know, to become very clear with. But that's congratulations on that grant work, by the way. That's great. So tell us a little bit more about your next ride. It's obviously gonna have some music element. Are you gonna do the same route that you had from the last?
Of course not.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, we're keeping some things the same. Our start point and our end point are going to be the same, but we are going to go in the northern part of Riverside and take a different route. Similar amount of miles, about close to 5 miles, and just see some different sites. And I think even for people who live in Riverside, they are not entirely familiar with how to get around it, because it is a windy, kind of crazy town. And which is great because it keeps the cars out. But for people who live in it, it can be a little confusing. So I'm actually learning a lot about my own town because I have to memorize these routes. So
for those who aren't familiar with Riverside, it was a planned community from Frederick Law Olmsted back in the late 1800s. He's the guy who designed Central Park, and so he designed this village. We call it a village. All the streets, but I think 3 are like smooth and swerve, or on angles or swerved, and there's actually one street that goes north, south, and east and west throughout the village. And it's very, very unique. And so people get lost in it all the time. And there's actually stories about how Yeah, there's stories about how back in the 20s and 30s, a lot of the mob and Al Capone people lived there specifically so because they could just turn their car lights off and get away from the cops. So
That's amazing.
So that's the cool thing about Riverside is having a ride there. It's always different. People can always see different routes. And there's a lot of people that have. I mean, I drive around there all the time because of my business, but there's people that probably drive just the same route all the time. But riding through and being able to ride their bike through this parts of town is going to be so much fun and so interesting for people. Really.
I'll tell you what. Long Common is about the only street that I know through.
And that's just not
Yeah,
even
that's
straight.
basically all you need to know because that gets you out of there.
Yeah,
But
that's-
It gets me out of there, but I don't know where to go. I don't know where. If I make one turn off Long Common, I'm lost forever. It's like the
Yeah.
labyrinth in there. Right?
that's the beauty of the ride that we're going to do.
Okay.
It's really fun, at least when I was on your ride, to not even know where I was and just like know I was going to get back to where I came from. That's really just like relaxing on a bike. So I think at Riverside, it's so windy and it just kind of lulls you to sleep almost. So that's the fun part about it. You can just relax and not worry about trying to get back to where you came from.
Yeah, I mean, I know, like, as you now lead rides, Valerie. It's you're not relaxed, as you
No.
a participant, but I mean, that's the element that I know we've always tried to encourage with Cycle Brookfield is come out for a leisurely ride, enjoy your neighbors. You get to talk to people, maybe like-minded or new meeting people. We've had a lot of people. Members of ours, join a ride and they meet someone who has a similar riding style of them, and they get together and they do rides together. You're building friendships, you're building community, and I think that's really really cool. And it's something you get to do on these like sanctioned designated rides. You turn your brain off. It's a Friday night. You're pedaling through town. Maybe your kids with you. The kids are working up some appetite. You go to a local restaurant, eat some pizza, eat some ice cream, whatever. Hot dogs for Pete, right? It's yeah, but I think that's the fun part of doing these rides is I know it's the satisfaction for me at least to see every first Friday. Again, no one takes first Friday for me, but every first Friday of the month, I leave that event, feeling satisfied that the community came together for its common purpose as well.
I had a lot of people comment about how they saw the ride, drive by their house, ride by their house, and that they wanted to next time to come.
Yeah, it's like advertising.
Yeah,
It's great.
So.
Yeah, screaming out. They'd be like, "Ride Riverside, right?
Riverside,
right here. Come out to see what we're about." So, Val, how do people know about your upcoming events? Where do we find information?
So we're everywhere. So we're on Instagram, Ride Riverside IL. We're on Facebook as a group, Ride Riverside. We also have a website called rideriverside.org.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And
all of your rides and information are posted there, the schedule and dates and so forth.
Yeah.
Okay. And if anyone wants to get in contact with you, is there or
there's a contact page
Perfect.
on the website, but they could also just figure out how to, they could just contact me through Facebook. It's just me, my name on there, so they could just message me.
Awesome. So what's next with your group?
What's next? More advocacy, I guess, and trying to grow our membership and get more people to join us and help with it. I think there's a real need for it, and I think people are excited. But to have somebody who's kind of like leading it and saying, "Yes, this is possible," I think that's the missing link, and I think that's what I got from you guys from Cycle Brookfield. That was my missing link. That was, this is possible. We can actually change our community.
It is possible, and it's something that I was, I would always try to stay positive with it. But, I started, with a group of other folks. The idea behind Cycle Brookfield was to grow a community of, basically make bikes normal on the road. That was the ultimate goal. Is so many cars are normalized, but bikes should also be normalized, and that comes with power numbers. And the more people that are out there wearing a Cycle Brookfield t-shirt, hopefully at some point wearing a Ride Riverside t-shirt or hat or something, that becomes normal. People say like, "Oh, bikes are okay on the road, and at least it gives a point of contact. If there's a question, I get, hopefully you have the same level at some point in your lifespan to this. But I'm out in the world, and I'm shopping at local grocery stores and local restaurants, and people are like, oh, you're that bike guy. I want to talk to you about whatever, and I entertain it. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. But it's nice to hear what different levels of your community are thinking about how bikes should interact, and and I hopefully you get that same interaction for you.
I hope I get the good side of those things.
No, you gotta get the fun. The fun stuff comes from the.
And the next thing you know, you'll be on Dancing with the Stars.
Exactly. Yes, sure. Well, I really think this is a fantastic opportunity for you, Val, and I'm really excited that Riverside is in you and your team. I mean, I'm saying it's a team, but I know it's
a one-man show.
It's a one-man show.
One person,
but.
Got a lot of help.
Yeah, of course. But I wish you all, really, really good success. And please, everyone who's watching, check out Ride Riverside. Follow them on Instagram, Facebook, and go to their website. Go to a ride, please, because Riverside, I get lost through there every time I go through. Go get lost. Go have some fun. It's beautiful areas. It's some beautiful historic homes. You'll get to see the big guy here. I mean, maybe he'll give you a hot dog if he's feeling generous that day. But
absolutely. And I think and if you live somewhere else, start your own ride. I mean, really, Val did this. I mean, it was pretty awesome. She did it just showing up to a meeting and had an idea and just ran with it. Talked to me, talked to a few other people, and now it's going from nothing in January to monthly rides, and it's been awesome.
Can inspire somebody like how you inspired me. Like I can inspire somebody who's maybe a little bit more like me, not a super avid bicyclist, just somebody who wants to do it for transportation, wants to do it safely, wants my kid to be safe on the road. I think it can.
Yeah, that's it comes inspiration comes from all over the world, but hopefully we are inspiring you to create your own advocacy group. If you're not doing it, know it's possible. Know there's ways. Get in contact with us. If you don't want to do it, obviously you can get in contact with Valerie, myself, Pete, but find out. We'll be happy to share with you.
There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Chris essentially that's what Val's kind of doing is Chris has the template of how he did this. So Val's kind of running with it and has done a great job. So it's been a lot of fun watching.
Yeah. So local groups, support your advocacy group, please do. It's very important. And it makes a difference. It really does in your local. Like we said, bike lanes, infrastructure, education, all comes from grassroots efforts like this at Cycle Brookfield.
Yeah, and all. I mean, whether you're just a regular cyclist or a bike racer or whatever, it's all inclusive.
Yeah, you bike racers, you think these local advocacy groups aren't for you, but I race. Pete races as well, but we still find value in advocacy.
It's Cycle Brookfield, which is this advocacy group brought the Intelligentsia Cup, which is now Chicago Grit, to Brookfield. So that's how it works, kids.
How it works. If you want to see cool stuff in your town, get action, make some things happen. Take your love of that bike and make it real. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, that's gonna wrap up our episode here. Episode 9. Wow. Yeah. Congrats. Thanks to you for everyone who's continued to subscribe to the Spoken Wheel podcast. Continue to share, send it to anyone who think this is important to you. If you had a friend who wants to start an advocacy group, this is the episode you want to send it to.
Absolutely.
This is the one. Send it to them. Let them get inspired by what we're doing here. And we want to see any comments that you have for us on this topic.
Any ideas about topics, everything. We're open to it.
Open to everything, yeah. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and like I said, subscribe, share, and please tune in for the next episode. Episode 10 will be our next one. Yeah.
Double digits, everyone.
You stayed with us. So thank you again for tuning in. My name is Chris Valadez from Cycle Brookfield.
And I'm Peter Janunas from Gears to You in Riverside, Illinois.
And together with the Spoken Wheel podcast. Thanks everyone for tuning in. See you next time.